Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundlesssuccess to join today. Let's get you to the next level. Hello, and welcome to the Success Showcase, the podcast that helps you succeed in your business, your life, and your career. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, with the Modern Observer Group, and with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great. How about you, Eric?
Doing fantastic. And, here in the Northeast, it is officially fall, and it has gotten cold.
Yeah, it's only in the 50s today, which is seasonable, but we're not used to that this year. And but the weather guides are giving us another day in the 70s tomorrow, and it looks like Wednesday following too. So, and then back to relatively normal. But I've never ever seen a string that we've had up here like we've had in September, October, and to begin November.
No, it's been crazy. We had Halloween was absolutely gorgeous. We had 80-degree weather, and then Mother Nature dropped from 80 to 35 like it saw a state trooper. It just really quick and
slammed on the brakes.
Testing. Yeah, it slammed on the brakes. Exactly. But today we've got a special guest. Ophir is a real estate sales coach. So, Ophir, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Fantastic. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. And just to give you a little bit of background on myself, I grew up in Westchester, New York. And then I went to school in Boston and came right out to Los Angeles after school. And that was around 1994. I started working at Warner Brothers for 6 years and didn't like the entertainment industry. So I decided I was going to get my real estate license. And what I learned, that was about 2000. So that's 2002 was when I got my real estate license. And this is in Los Angeles, actually on the Sunset Strip. And what I realized when I got into real estate was I didn't know anything about business, and I didn't understand a lot about business, and I wasn't being taught anything valuable for business. So I was really lost and frustrated and working my, what off and not getting anything to show for it. And so I quickly decided to change the way I'm looking at things and change the way I'm approaching things and get into coaching. And what ended up happening was I ended up getting into coaching in 2004 after about a year and a half in the industry. And immediately just my business started to explode because I had a guide. I had somebody to show me what I needed to do in order to succeed. And because I had the willingness and I really wanted to succeed and I was excited, I was willing to do all these things that were going to cause me to succeed. And so I quickly became, one of the top listing agents in Los Angeles. And after a period of time, I decided I wanted to really help other people accomplish the same things that I was able to because they weren't getting the support that I got in order to get there. And so that became my mission, was helping people become the cause of their lives rather than the effect of their lives. And I started to do that through coaching agents and through managing real estate offices, because that allowed me to really interact and contribute to a lot of people's careers by supporting them and empowering them and showing them the things that they need to learn. And so cut to, I've now managed for all the big companies, for Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker. The last place I managed was Compass Beverly Hills in Hollywood, which had a combined $8 billion in transactions. And I stepped down 2 years ago from that cushy job in order to launch my coaching company for real estate agents, which is called Real Momentum. And the focus is to really support agents in building the right foundation in their business and focusing on building a business full of sellers, And the way to do that is by focusing your energy on sellers and role playing your conversations and understanding your objections and having accountability week by week in terms of what your goals and what your actual are. It's not a complicated thing, but it's something that I think is really needed for salespeople in general, and especially in real estate. And it's been a really successful program. So, I'm excited to share real momentum and our philosophies and our belief systems and what separates us from other coaching companies.
That's fantastic. And I love your focus on support because that is missing for so many people, and not just in real estate. I've worked a lot with doctors and lawyers, and they tell me, we went to school for all these years, but they never taught us how to run a practice.
Right. How to run a business.
Yes. And it is something that people need to learn. I mean, when most people start their businesses, they're doing it because they love that business. It's, web designers start design firms because they love design. Real estate people go into real estate because they love selling real estate. They love the industry. But
Yes.
they're never taught about all of the little things that have to be done in the background to keep the business running.
It's so funny that you say that, Eric, because my father was a doctor. And one of the jokes we have in our family is, if there's a bad investment to be had, my family would be right on top of it because my dad was, and he was a brilliant doctor, but he knew nothing about business.
And it's so common that, it's not being taught. I mean, I was actually overjoyed a few months ago when the Connecticut State Legislature actually passed a law that in order for a student to graduate high school, they have to take finance classes and actually learn how to manage their money and how the stock market works and what credit cards do. And there's an entire generation that don't have that.
Absolutely. It's I mean, that's the most powerful message that you can give out there. And the interesting thing, Eric, is it's not hard to get. It's just you have to come to the self-awareness that you need that. That's the missing piece is, the number one rule for transformation is self-awareness, right? That's the first rule,
Yes.
because if you're not self-aware, you're never going to transform.
That's it. And it's not so much, the problem isn't so much that they don't know, it's that they don't know what they don't
What they
know.
don't know.
And and it's so hard to go out and find that information if you don't know that that's the information you need. And that's why a coach is so important, because as coaches, we work with our clients to say, okay, this is what you're missing.
Right. And I grew up in a very negative environment. And so all the things that were fed into me were reasons why I couldn't succeed, all the possibilities of things going wrong, right? And so as I became an adult, I realized that those were the thoughts that were pervading my head. And if that's where my head's at, how am I ever going to succeed? Because I'm already psyching myself out before I even start. I call it mind reading. I'm already mind reading what the results are going to be before I even start. So, I really created a focus on what I call feeding your white wolf. There's that Cherokee story of we all have a dark wolf inside of us and a white wolf inside of us. And then the question is, which one wins? And it's the one you feed. And so when I start empowering agents and showing them the easy way to get to business, it takes them less than 60 days to start getting appointments.
That's a fantastic result. And it is so important because we are conditioned from a young age. And, here in the US, we're not as bad off as some of the folks I've been speaking to over in Europe. We're still taught from a young age, yes, if you put your mind to it, there's nothing you can't do. But when you actually tried to do it, your parents, your loved ones, they want to prepare you for the worst. So they tell you all of the things. Well, don't worry if that doesn't work. And, we love you just the way you are. You don't have to do more. And we're really being trained not to stretch ourselves, not to reach for the sky, you know, keep things realistic. Now, I've actually spoken to a couple of people who are now in the US and they grew up in Europe. And they said in Europe it's very different. In Europe, they're not even taught that they're capable of these things. They're just beaten down from a young age. And we really have to fix that mindset. And it's important to fix it in people who are in business now. But also, we had a guest here several weeks ago, Tammy Valeras, who's working towards fixing that problem in elementary school.
Right. By the way, I agree with Tammy. Like that's where it should start, right? That's the basis of where you want to create that foundation because that's where our patterns are learned. And so we want to learn them early in childhood, and my background is in neurolinguistic programming. So, what I've learned, what I understand is that we have patterns that were created in our childhood, and some of them are good and some of them are bad. And we just have to realize which ones are serving us and which ones aren't serving us and focus on the ones that are serving us. And we can change the ones that aren't serving you very quickly. It's just a matter of, once again, self-awareness.
Yes, it's one thing to be able to say, "Oh, I've got these limiting beliefs." First, though, you've got to realize how we've been programmed. So, when somebody comes to you for the first time as a client,
Yes.
how do you introduce them to your process?
That's a wonderful question. I mean, the goal with our process is to put them through our two-step membership. So we have level one, which we call movement, and level two, which is momentum. So in order to get them started, we want them to be able to build the right foundation in their business, which is their database, right? It's everything I call it like their Bible. For salespeople, that's your database should be your Bible. And I can tell you from 20 years, almost 30 years of experience, I know so many successful realtors who don't even have a database. It's mind-boggling, right? And so when you set it up the right way, and we help them set it up and we show them how to do it and we create action plans for them, and you start practicing your conversations, then you really quickly become comfortable having those conversations. But for some reason, people think like they should naturally come into real estate and be comfortable with those conversations. That's not how it works.
No, it certainly isn't. We talk a lot on this podcast about the importance of networking. And of course, that's how you build that database. But people are not comfortable walking into a room full of strangers and saying, "Hey, here I am. This is who I am." So you need to practice that. You need to work on it.
And our process, by the way, Eric, our process is so simple. Why? Because it's about asking questions instead of making it about, and especially new people in sales are always, I don't have enough experience. I don't have this. I don't have that. Other people are better than me, right? And so if you make your focus on the client, which is where it should be anyhow,
Yep.
right? If you make your focus on supporting the client and asking questions and digging deeper, then the results are amazing. And, when I talk about teaching agents, it's not that I teach them massive differences that they should be doing it completely different. It's just little nuances that impact the results massively. And so a little bit different, try this, do this a little bit different, and the result is going to be amazing.
Yeah,
and so, yeah.
It's fantastic that you are taking the approach that you're taking because yes, we are all programmed the wrong way. We all are created fabulous, and through no fault of our parents or anybody else, it's been this way since mankind started walking the earth. We've always leaned towards the negative. So the power of what you did working and running those very, very highly successful agencies and carrying that forward in group formats, which that is the key as far as I'm concerned, is that you're working with a whole bunch of individuals and you're building the big mo by getting all those people together, doing the time-tested exercises and methods that you have learned and ran companies that we're highly successful with to get these people going. So, I mean, it's got to be amazing for them to do that. And I imagine what you work with smaller agencies or you work with individuals and all different types of people. But I think working in the groups and doing all the exercises that you're talking about, so they're hands-on, number one, it teaches them how to do it right. And it also teaches them how to be confident in doing what they're doing and presenting, preparing for networking and everything else that comes along with being in the real estate business, which, by the way, I haven't been exposed to since I've lived in my house since 1986. So I know a whole bunch of realtors. I know a whole bunch of them, but I really never had to deal with them.
That's okay. I'll send some over next week.
Yeah, my wife, we don't want to move.
I'm just kidding. You know what Chip said is beautiful. And Chip, I don't know if you knew this, but the first office I took over was in 2008 in the worst market ever in Hancock Park in Los Angeles, and it was getting ready to be shut down. And within a year, we became one of the top 10 offices in the country. And that's out of 800 offices. And it's only because I supported the agents in their success. And one thing that you didn't mention, which I think is amazing, is when they see that they all have the same problems. They all think that their problems are unique to them and individual to. I'm like, I had the same problems, right? When we learn that we're all in it together and we support each other, that's when people move forward quickly.
Absolutely. And that's, again, that's not unique to real estate. Business people in general, they think what they're dealing with is unique to them. And when they start talking with folks, like in our mastermind groups or at networking events, they start to realize, wait a minute, everybody goes through this. We're all facing the same challenges. And
Yes.
I love what you
It's
were able to
empowering.
do in 2008, but it's more than just supporting them. You're teaching them to do what most agents won't do. And, it's always been said, if you keep doing what you always did, you're going to keep getting what you always got.
Yes. Yes. We know the definition of insanity, right?
Yep,
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And that's what
exactly.
real estate agents do. Absolutely, all day long.
And of course, again, most businesses will fall into patterns. They'll keep doing something, and even though it's not working, they'll think, well, I must not be doing enough, or maybe I
Yeah.
have to do it more. And it's like,
Yes.
no, doing the same thing over and over again is not going to get you different results.
That's the hilarity. You know, the name of the company is Real Momentum. And the reason I named it Real Momentum is because I've seen so many real estate agents having massive momentum, but they're going down the wrong track. So you
Yes,
want to have real momentum. You want to have momentum on the right track. And that's where, the support really plays in. But I'll give you guys one little simple thing. Like most new agents are taught to focus on buyers. It's so much easier to be a listing agent than a buyer's agent. I can teach somebody to be a listing agent in 60 days and they can start getting listings, but that's not what they're taught or their managers say, so they don't do it. They're focused on
interesting.
the buyers.
So why is it that they're not being told this?
I mean, it's a great question. I just think that a lot of people have bought into this limiting belief. This like become a limiting belief across an industry, which is that you can't be a listing agent at the beginning of your career. And by the way, I mean, I could barely walk and talk and chew gum at the same time when I got into real estate. I'm a very different human being now. And I became a top listing agent within 3 years. By my fourth year, I was the number one agent for all of Keller Williams in California. And we sold 84 homes in my fourth year, which is a testament to the process, not to me, to the process.
Yeah, limiting beliefs have killed so many businesses, certainly, but individuals just beat them down. And I tell this
Yes.
to my clients all the time. You have to stop asking, can I do this? And start asking, how can I do this? Make the assumption that yes, it's possible, and then figure out how.
That's exactly it. And the reality is this. When you're having real estate conversations, if you keep role playing them, you're going to get better and better and better. That there's no question about it. But the beauty of it is it teaches you how to focus on the client. I was always focused on the success of the consumer, not on the commission that I was going to make. And I feel like a lot of them are being taught to go after deals right now. And so instead of understanding the value of creating client for life, they're chasing after deals.
Exactly. Deals are great. Deals pay the bills. But those deals come from people. And that's where the focus has to be. Again, as we talk a lot about networking, when you walk into a networking event, if you start immediately talking about yourself, you turn people off. But when you ask questions, you know, what do you do? How did you get into that? What do you like about that? And show a genuine interest. That's going to build those relationships. And in real estate, those relationships are key because even if somebody is only going to buy one house in the course of their lifetime, if you treat them as a person, if you yeah, if stay in touch with them after that purchase and continue to be of service, they are going to refer people. And people, again, like we
Yes,
always say with networking, people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
it's so important to, I would emphasize what you just said to the nth level, because that's literally what it comes down to, right? That's everything.
It is.
I
And
love your
so
chart.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I love basically you reference your group coaching movement in your website, and you have your chart, them versus us, and you have bullets for each of them. And for the them, it's the old traditional practices. What I like the most is the comparison of your last bullet. And for them, it says they promote a transactional approach over building genuine relationships, a transactional approach. I love your bullet that says we focus on spiritual and personal growth alongside business success. And basically, I would say spiritual and personal growth are the key, not only to
the
business success, to anything in your life.
the absolute key. When you learn the spiritual laws of the universe, and that's what we're implementing, they're the most powerful things in the world. One of the easiest ones that we could talk about is get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And if
Yes.
you if you become comfortable being uncomfortable, then you can accomplish anything.
Exactly. When you stay in your comfort zone, nothing happens. And people stay in their comfort zone for a reason. We are genetically hardwired to stay in that comfort zone because we know it's safe. Now,
Yes,
30,000 years ago, when these instincts were developed, staying in your comfort zone meant not going where the lion was going to eat
right.
you.
Yeah,
Now our systems react that way to any kind of adversity. And let's be honest, with the exception of soldiers and first responders, very few of us are jumping into situations that can actually kill us.
right.
But our bodies and our minds react as though it can. So you've got to get past that and be comfortable with your discomfort.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I was talking about on my role, I do role play every morning at 7:30. And I was talking about it with my group this morning, which is this is about getting out there and doing it. And once you get into the habit and you're doing it consistently and you're focused on supporting people, the results are going to be magical. They're incredible. I mean, the simplest one we talk about is people will drip on their clients all day long. We call it dripping when they're emailing them. They will
Yep.
not pick up the phone and call them. When you call your client once every 90 days, magic happens.
Yes, you need to keep in touch. Again, you need to create that personal relationship because that relationship is going to blossom into everything. That's that's
everything.
that's the opening gambit is build the relationship.
Yes, and I take that. This is why I take it into the seller aspect, because if you look at a farm area, if you look at a geographical farm, about 70% of those homeowners don't have an agent because the agent that represented them as a buyer never stayed in touch with them. So we call them orphans. So that's why I say, as a new agent, you can go into a neighborhood and easily create those relationships because they don't have somebody.
Exactly. That gap needs to be filled. And I mean, that's really the core of any successful business is finding that need and filling it. In this case, it's finding that gap and inserting yourself and following up and building that relationship. And again, as you said earlier, it's practicing what you're going to say. People seem to believe they can just jump into a situation and either they're good at it or they're not. And it's the old joke, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice.
Yes. It's so true. It's so true. I actually just wrote a book, a chapter in a book called Cracking the Rich Code. And my chapter was about entrepreneurial warriors, right? Real estate agents are what I call entrepreneurial warriors. And so if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneurial warrior, would you walk into, if you were in the arena, would you walk into the arena without a sword? Would you walk into the arena without a shield? But yet all these people are like, I don't need a business plan. I'm good. Yeah, I don't need
Right.
scripts. I'm good. Like, what are you talking about? You're going into the arena. You want to be prepared.
Exactly. You need to be prepared. And again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about not knowing what you don't know. You need to understand what you need to be prepared. And
Yes.
most, especially first-time entrepreneurs, don't know that.
I,
They jump in with both feet and they don't know what they need.
I didn't know any of
Yep.
that, right? And so I was spinning my wheels and I was struggling and I was so frustrated and I was trying all these things and I literally broke down. Like it affects you, right? It affects
Yep.
your mental image of yourself. And so if you have questions about your mental image of yourself, you're never going to get a client to work with you. So
Right.
I have to
You
take.
have to have that self-confidence for them to have confidence in you.
Exactly. And how do you get that? And the rub of it, the catch 22 is how do you get that confidence without having the experience? And that's by role playing. And my agents role play, they, after a month, they sound more experienced than most agents who've been in the business 5 years.
Fantastic. Well, we are coming up on the end of our time. So before we wrap up, if one of our listeners would like to learn more about your program, get more information, or especially if they're in real estate, want to use you as a coach, how can they do so?
All they have to do is go to realmomentum.com. That's our website. So REAL momentum.com. And they will have everything that they need there. We have free scripts they can take. We have free electronic business plan. And we have classes they can sign up for that are free. And then if they want to do a 15-minute consult with me, they can do a 15-minute consult to see if this is the right match. I like to consult with everyone to see if this is the right match for them.
Excellent. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway for this week?
Well, it's been fantastic to listen to your journey from where you were to where you are right now, learning along the way. And I'm sure you are having an absolute ball paying it forward with everything that you've done. But getting back to the principles, it all starts in life with awareness. And
Yes.
awareness is simplifying things and realizing what human nature really is. And regardless of everything that's online and everything else, humans crave relationships. And if it starts with relationships and you're working with them, everybody's networking badge really means what's in it for me. And I want to get to know you. That's what it's all about. So starting there and realizing that we all have our hangups. I like to use my empty courtroom vision, which basically, if you take a look at an empty courtroom and we're all kind of messed up in our minds, you're the accused, you're the judge, the jury box is empty. And I always ask, where are the jurors? They're in their own courtrooms because we're all like that. And that's just the way things are.
Yeah.
So your approach, but then putting it in group format so that everybody can learn and grow together is genius. And yet it's so simple. So congrats. And if I ever do have to buy another house, I'm sure I'll work with an agent that's been bought by you.
They'll be reaching out to you. You know what? I appreciate you guys. I appreciate having like mindsets. And I think it's so important as we're moving forward to really bring this out to everybody, because if you don't think that your mindset's a little bit off after the last few years that we've been through, then you're not thinking properly. You need to be feeding it positive things and working on your mental, what I call mental strength, right? Because otherwise you're taking it all in and coming from a negative space when you're looking at it.
Absolutely. I think for me, the big takeaway is it comes down to three basic elements. It's preparation, practice, and people. You have to prepare yourself. You have to figure out what you need to have to be prepared. You need to practice, go over it. Nobody's a natural at everything all at once. You need to go over it. And it's about the people. Create those relationships. Don't think about the transaction. Think about the long-time relationship. That's the difference between a one-time customer and a lifelong client. So if you pay attention to those three elements, that's going to build your success.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say we made it. I made it so it's affordable. It's $297 a month to be part of the membership, and they get so much for that. So they should go to Real Momentum, check it out, see everything they get for that one price, which includes an accountability group with me. And like Chip said, it's not complicated. It's simple, but that's what we need right now.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, guys.
You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch every episode at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, Rumble, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.